Here Lord Krishna is speaking of repeating his message, this Bhagavad-gita, among the devotees. The basic principles of Bhagavad-gita should be preached widely to everyone. Not to everyone, to at least those who are Balishu, that's described in Srimad Bhagavatam. Those who are foolish like children, innocent, foolish and innocent like children. But not to the dvisha, those who are envious, as is also stated just in the verse previous to this, in Bhagavad-gita. So the basic principles of Bhagavad-gita can be spoken to anyone, but the detail, the rahasya, paramaguhya, this rahasyamana, this most confidential secret of Bhagavad-gita, that should not be discussed in detail with others except devotees. The detail, the rahasya, paramaguhya, this rahasyamana, this most confidential secret of Bhagavad-gita, that should not be discussed in detail with others except devotees. We may discuss even with Mayavadis about certain principles of Bhagavad-gita. Discuss means on the basis of Bhagavad-gita, we want to establish Krishna's supremacy. But unless people accept Krishna's supremacy, then the greatest secret, which is to surrender fully to Krishna and become his devotee, there's no point to making this point. So all the details of bhakti, that is to be discussed among devotees. Srila Prabhupada instituted these classes on Bhagavad-gita and Srimad Bhagavatam in his temples, so that devotees could share the knowledge that Prabhupada had given them and the realizations that spring from that, according to the principle described in Bhagavad-gita by Lord Krishna. Matchita madgatta prana bodhayanta parasparam katayantas chamang nityang tushanti charamanti cha. You can give the translation of that. Now, I have a question in front of me. What is the difference between representing what we have heard from Guru, Sadhu and Shastra? What is the difference between representing that with a realization and simply parrot-like speaking? Parrot-like speaking with realization is condemned. Parrot-like speaking with realization? Well, parrots don't have realization, that's why it's called parrot-like. Self-realized parrot. Well, there are, Shukadeva Goswami, but when we say parrot-like, it means like an ordinary parrot, not like Shukadeva Goswami. We should not speculate. We are warned not to speculate. But don't speak just parrot-like either, just with speaking with what's written without any realization. So it sounds like a contradiction. If you say something which you might not find exactly in the same words in the books, you might be accused of speculating. And if you just speak what's directly in the book, you could read it, you could learn and just repeat what's in the book. But then you could be accused of parrot-like recitation. And the whole point of having this kind of class is that one should express in one's own words, as Prabhupada said, what he has heard from Guru, Sadhu and Shastra. Prabhupada could have told that, well, you just read from the books. Don't speak anything. Sometimes we recommend that. When there are very new people coming together to discuss Prabhupada's books, we recommend better you don't discuss, because you don't know. Then better you just read the books together. But realization means expression of one's understanding. And parrot-like means no understanding. You can train a parrot to speak, but they don't have any realization or understanding. Realization, let's consider a little bit what this means. We'll have to use a little realization to understand what realization means. Realization what does the word realize means? It means it's a synonym of understand. It suggests something more than simple understanding. It means to understand the subtle principles of the topic under discussion. And in the case of spiritual knowledge, it means our realization will be tested by how we practically apply that in our lives. Srila Prabhupada wrote that those who enthusiastically engage in devotional service, it's seen that they're getting the result of chanting Hare Krishna. Someone might be chanting a lot, but if he's not enthusiastic to serve, then he hasn't really understood or hasn't really entered into the spirit of chanting. One of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's last sannyas disciple, Jajaba Maharaj, once asked Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Jajaba. Jajaba Maharaj. Yayaba. It's in Sanskrit, in Bengali it's pronounced Jajaba. Jajaba Maharaj. He said that, Guru Maharaj, you say that all your disciples should chant 64 rounds, minimum daily, but in this mutt, I don't see anyone except you who does that. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, well, you don't see, but I see. So it remained a doubt for Jajaba Maharaj, because he saw that everyone's busy all day, and for sure they're not chanting 64 rounds. But he described that later, after the passing away of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, by his mercy, he had realization of what this meant. That everyone is busy in service, that's the same as equivalent to chanting constantly. So Jajaba Maharaj had that realization, and the others, they had the realization even prior to that. So realization, as Jajaba Maharaj was saying, by the mercy of his Guru Maharaj, he could understand this point. So realization that is demonstrated by one's desire to serve. And from the desire to serve comes realization. If one is serious to serve, then Krishna reveals the knowledge within the heart. There are other factors. Yasya deve para bhakte yata deve tata guru tasyarte katita hyartha prakashante mahatmanaha. By that firm faith in Guru and Krishna, then all the recondite artha, the purports of the Vedic literature, they are revealed within the heart of the devotee. Recondite means difficult to understand. And then everything becomes clear. What is that verse in Gita? What is that 4th chapter about the sun rising? Yadaditya gatam te jagad bhasayate kilam. How does the rest of it go? Yat chandramasi. No, I'm getting mixed up. Anyway, it says that just when the sun rises, then everything becomes clear. I think it's 4th chapter. Pretty sure it's 4th. When the sun rises, then everything becomes clear. So Krishna Surya Samamaya Hoyandaka Jahan Krishna Tahana Himaya Radhika. When the Krishna sun rises, then Maya automatically is dispelled. So a realization means that it's these concepts which are described in Bhagavad-gita, we can clearly understand them and base our life on that, and thus we're able to explain them also. and all the different topics in Shastra, how they all fit together, we can understand. This realization happened that is available, or that is manifest in mundane spheres also. Just like in mathematics, someone might be wrestling with a mathematical problem, and then they get realization, oh, this is how to solve it. Or the detective is trying to solve the case, and all of a sudden he realizes all the information is there in his mind, but how does it all fit together? He can't understand. Actually, that's a different verse. That's in the 15th chapter. The one I'm thinking about is in the 4th chapter. Anyway, we went past it. It's like that. If you're learning a language, sometimes you hear, or in a sentence you can read all the different words and you understand what they all mean, but somehow you can't understand how they all fit together. But when one becomes more practiced, then you can understand. So simply amassing information, that is one aspect of intelligence. That is smriti shakti, the ability to remember. But the ability to understand it, that is vichar, how to understand it, that is different from simply amassing information. That is a gift of the Supersoul. Of course, spiritual realization, it's different to mathematical realization or any other material realization. There are so many tattvas to be understood. Bhagavad-tattva, the understanding the position of the Supreme Lord, why he is the Supreme Lord. Bhakti-tattva, understanding the necessity of devotional service, what is devotional service, how it's performed in a manner that's pleasing to Krishna. All these different points, they're elaborately discussed in Srila Rupa Goswami Prabhupada's Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Rasa Tattva, what is rasa, that is elaborately discussed by Srila Rupa Goswami. Vishnu Tattva, Jeev Tattva, who is Vishnu, how he is different from the Jivas, how they are similar also, all these points. So all these tattvas are to be understood, and when one has realization of them, then he is able to explain also. And non-realization, that means just to recite. One doesn't understand the underlying principles. Therefore, even though one may be very knowledgeable, that knowledge is of no use to himself or others. That example is there of there are so many examples, but the example is there of the Brahmana who vowed not to tell a lie. And then one man was being chased by robbers, and he hid in the woodland near to the Brahmana's house. So then the robbers came running up and asked the Brahmana, "Did you see one man running? We're chasing him, we want to rob him." So the Brahmana said, "Yes." "Where is he?" "He's over there." So they went and killed the man and robbed him, and the Brahmana was very satisfied. I didn't tell a lie. So he thought he was being very pious by not telling any lies. But after his death he went to hell for not telling a lie when he should have told a lie. He did not understand the principle of dharma. He simply had heard that one should not tell lies. And without attempting to understand the principle, he just followed it blindly. So realization, that is in, I discussed this before here in Salem, didn't I? Realization and faith. I was talking about that about a year ago. Faith, realization and faith. Faith, yeah. In Bhagavad-gita, Lord Krishna talks about faith. It's one of the main topics, one of the main tattvas. Shraddhamayo yang purusha yo yach shraddha sa eva saha. Everyone in this world has some kind of faith. And one is classified as sattvic, rajasic, or tamasic according to one's kind of faith. So faith here means that one is inclined to a particular kind of understanding according to the nature he has acquired, the conditioned nature he has acquired. The pure nature of the soul is as the servant of Vishnu. But karanam guna sangosya sadasadyo nijanmasu, we attain different kinds of situations according to the association we take. If we associate with tamaguni people, then our faith or our inclination, our realization becomes tamaguni. The same with rajagun, sattvagun. If we associate with tamagun by going to movies where they show lots of sexy scenes and violence, then we start to think, well, that's very good. I should also be like that. And then when some politician comes and puts a garland of shoes on the deity of Lord Rama, we think, oh, that's very good. That is our realization. This was going on in Tamil Nadu previously. And the people were cheering, very good, this is very nice. At the present time, the Rajogun is being promoted so much. We should work hard, make lots of money, be very smart. So when someone comes and gives a lecture, that someone was telling me in their school, this some rich guy, I can't remember, famous, he came and gave a lecture in their school. And he was saying, you should work hard, make lots of money. He was screaming at the children. And people who are inclined to that, they're already pre-inclined to that. They think, yeah, that's good, he's right. And we also have our preaching, that we should put a garland of flowers on Lord Ram, and we should endeavor, but not for material gain, but for spiritual realization by serving Lord Ram. Some people, when they hear this, they feel they have a realization, yes, this is correct. And others, when they hear this, they have the realization, what nonsense is he talking? So realization means the train of thought and the concepts that are formed in the mind upon contacting various stimuli. And by the grace of Krishna, one can have highly elevated spiritual realizations. Or if one's inclination is like that, one may have the most degraded inclinations also. Herr Hitler's realization was that the German people are superior. Which, then you might ask, well, how is it that Germany at that time was such a poor country? Hitler's realization is, the problem is the Jews. So we should kill them all. And most of the German people agreed with him. He had a very powerful, by the way, the grace of Krishna, indirectly through Maya Shakti, he had a very powerful personality. But it's amazing how so many people agreed. I mean, practically the whole German people went along, either by fear or whatever. When we look back at that, the Hitler was the greatest anomaly in the whole human race during the last, maybe not just the 20th century, but so many centuries. Well, it seems like that, though actually Prabhupada said Darwin, Freud and Marx were the three greatest demons of the 20th century. Darwin came in the 19th century, but his influence was most prominent.
Fraud,
Fraud, that's his name. Fraud. Freud. We can call him Fraud. Sigmund Freud. You had some realization there. Krishna inspired you. So when people look back on Hitler, they think, well, it's not difficult to have the realization that he was a very nasty person. That's an understatement. But surprisingly, they don't have the realization. Well, why they say Hitler's so bad? Because he rounded up so many Jews and tortured them and killed them. It's only one of the things he did too. Only one of the very bad things he did. But people don't think that they round up, they imprison so many cows and pigs and torture them and kill them. And people don't have the realization that this is also horrible, just like Hitler did it to humans, and now humans are doing it to animals. They might read in the newspaper, in this year, so many millions of cows have been killed in America, and their realization might be, well, that's very good. It's 20% more than last year. That's good for the economy. So that is realization, but that is not transcendental realization, it's demoniac realization. And one can have demoniac realization of Bhagavad-gita also. We may read, Aham sarvasya prabhavaha. Krishna is the source of everything. Everything is generated from Krishna. And if we're demons, we'll read that, yes, I am the source of everything. So here, Lord Krishna states that one should explain, one who explains this secret to the devotees, then pure devotional service is guaranteed and he will come to me. So it's not, Krishna himself is saying should it be explained. He didn't say that it should be just recited. But what is the meaning? That should be explained. If we're to understand Bhagavad-gita properly, then we have to hear it explained from someone who himself knows. And such a person, they will have heard from himself, someone who knows. And then everything which Krishna is speaking here in concise form, that will require to be explained in more detail. For instance, here the word bhakti is used. What is the meaning of the word bhakti? For that we will have to refer to the writings of the acharyas who have analyzed the shastras and explained the subject matter. What is bhakti at kanishta adhika, madhyam adhika, uttam adhika?
Bhakti அப்படிங்கிறது என்ன? கனிஷ்ட அதிகா, மத்தியம் அதிகாரி, உத்தம அதிகாரி, அந்த என்ன?
Adhika. I said the word adhika. Adhika means eligibility. Adhikari means one who is eligible. Then what is karma mishra bhakti, jnana mishra bhakti, yoga mishra bhakti, and amishra bhakti or shuddha bhakti? What is vikta bhakti? That which is crippled by material desires. Vaidhi bhakti, raga anoga bhakti, and bhava bhakti, prema bhakti, aishwarya pradhan bhakti, and aishwarya vihin bhakti. All so many different tattvas. Bhakti, to understand bhakti tattva, so much has to be understood. So it is required to study Shastra, recite and study and pray for the realization. In Srimad Bhagavatam it is described how we should approach Bhagavatam, how we should acquire that knowledge. That Chinvan Supatan Vicharana Paraha, which means that we should hear Srimad Bhagavatam. We should recite it very, very carefully and apply our intelligence also to understand it. And then if our desire is to serve Krishna, then Krishna will give the realization in our hearts what is the actual understanding of Shastra. And then by Krishna's grace we can understand what it means. Vaidashta sarverahameva vedaha. All the Shastra is meant for understanding Krishna. When we understand that everything is to be understood in terms of establishing Krishna's supremacy and the need to serve Him without any personal desire, then by Krishna's grace everything in Shastra becomes clear. In Shastra it's stated in Mahabharata and other places about the Kesha avatar, that Krishna and Balaram are the avatars of a white hair and a black hair of Lord Vishnu. Balaram and Krishna. Balaram is the white hair and Krishna is the black hair. In Shastra it's stated in Mahabharata and other places about the Kesha avatar. That Krishna and Balaram are the avatars of a white hair and a black hair of Lord Vishnu. Balaram and Krishna. Balaram is the white hair and Krishna is the black hair. As is stated in Shastra. Jiva Goswami, by his realization, has rejected and said this is not true. Because white hair is the symptom of an aging person. Lord Vishnu does not have any white hairs. So here's an instance of the Acharya, by his realization, not exactly editing Shastra, but giving the proper realization, a proper understanding. But if that is in Shastra, then how can it be rejected? No, he says, this is Asura Vimohanartha. This is placed there for the purpose of bewildering the Asuras. So by realization one can understand what is the message of Shastra, which part of Shastra is supreme, which to be understood, and give so many clarifications. Because the common people, they will misunderstand everything. Just like Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he explained why Yudhishthira's chariot, which used to go above the ground, came down after he told the lie. Actually, he didn't tell a lie, but he was reluctant to tell a lie, but he tricked his guru, Dronacharya. Because he called out, Ashvatthama Hatta. Ashvatthama is killed. Then as the conches are being blown by the Pandavas party in jubilation, Yudhishthira also said, Kunjarova Narova. Whether it's an elephant or a man, I can't say. So Yudhishthira, his chariot used to go above the earth because he's so pious. That was a gift from the Devas. But after this incident, it came down to the ground. Because he acted deceitfully and tricked his guru and caused the death of his guru by unfair means. That's how people understand it. But who told Yudhishthira to do this? It was Krishna. So if that's true, then that proves that Krishna is immoral and he told Yudhishthira to do something wrong. So this misunderstanding of why Yudhishthira Maharaj's chariot came down is actually demoniac. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur explained that because Yudhishthira Maharaj at first refused to follow Krishna's order, and he hesitated to do so, and he only did so under some condition, that, well, I'll say, Narova, Kunjarova, while the conch is being blown, because of his apparent lack of devotional service, therefore the chariot had to come down. Giving a bit of your own realization. I didn't say about the elephant. Adding a little bit of explanation. Then again, from Mahabharata, everyone knows Ekalavya was a great Guru Bhakta. And therefore, he got such ability in shooting arrows that even outstripped Arjuna. So Arjuna too, so that he would be the best archer, he asked Drona to ask Guru Dakshina from Ekalavya of Ekalavya's thumbs, so he wouldn't be able to shoot anymore. So Arjuna was just envious, it seems like that. But Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur explained that no, Arjuna, he's not envious, he's a pure devotee. Ekalavya was envious. He was a bogus Guru Bhakta, not a bona fide Guru Bhakta. Because he disobeyed the order of Dronacharya and without permission worshipped him. Therefore Arjuna disempowered, that's a popular word nowadays, empowering, disempowering, disempowered Ekalavya. He didn't want him to be prominent, that this person, he's a cheater. He shouldn't advertise he's a disciple of Drona and become prominent like that. So this is Bhakti Siddhanta. This is the proper understanding according to the conclusions of pure devotional service. So those who are great devotees, they are blessed with realization into the intricacies of Bhakti Tattva. And all devotees have some realization. Everyone, non-devotees also, they also have some realization. But really realization means that spiritual understanding. Everyone has some kind of understanding or faith. So every devotee has some realization, and that is expressed in their service and in their speaking, in their behavior and everything they do. In the book there are the different verses, but the human experience is far more than can be. The full human experience cannot be fully expressed in any book. Bhagavad-gita covers all spiritual knowledge in sankshep, means in concise form. But exactly how that is to be applied in every circumstance, that requires that realization. So we hear Bhagavad-gita explained by devotees who, by the grace of Krishna, have taken this knowledge and applied it in their lives and gained realization. They don't speak their imagination, but they speak only according to Shastra, but how that, in the manner that how that can be applied practically. Just like someone may ask, well, we're going door to door distributing Bhagavad-gitas, and some people, they get angry at us, how should we deal with them? Then the speaker, they may reply, citing Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's injunction, Tarariva Sahishnuna, one should be tolerant like a tree. Then someone else may say, well, what about Hanuman? He didn't just tolerate Ravana, he burned Lanka. So that will have to be explained how, on one hand, we have to be tolerant, on the other hand, we have to be angry against the demons. When and what extent to be angry upon the demons and when to ignore. Some examples may be given. Examples from Shastra, from the lives of devotees. But the individual devotee will have to take that knowledge and apply it in his life. But one should speak according to Shastra, on the basis of that, not according to one's own imagination or any other source of knowledge. Examples from Shastra, from the lives of devotees. But the individual devotee will have to take that knowledge and apply it in his life. But one should speak according to Shastra, on the basis of that, not according to one's own imagination or any other source of knowledge. Any other source of knowledge means we don't start explaining according to Mayavadis or Karma Mimamsaks. Although we may cite some information from mundane politics or news or history and relate that to Shastra, so that people can relate to that knowledge practically in their lives. What's in the news these days? I didn't see a newspaper or hear any news. Last time there was news of floods in Chennai. Then after that, what's the news? What's strike in Delhi? Who's striking? The shops are all closed. Okay. Why are they striking? Don't know. Alright, so then... Sealing. Oh, they're on the government land.
Shops in the residential area, so they are sealing shops.
They're sealing, S-E-L-I-N-G. Yeah. They're not in proper zones. I see. So then if we get this information, how can we relate that to Shastra? Relate that to Shastra and teachings of our Acharyas. Some suggestions? Now what's your realization? Now we'll... Striking for sense gratification. They've taken public property and they want to hold it. So it's for sense gratification. Any other thoughts? Material problems are caused by encroaching on other people's property. Anything else? Yeah, everyone's fighting over, this is my property. No, it's my property. It's all Krishna's property. Ishavassamidam sarvam. We could say, well, it's a symptom of Kali Yuga that people are always quarreling. That's something else. Another point Prabhupada pointed out, that in modern life everything is so complex that it just gives rise to so many difficulties. There's no need for all this complex society with thousands and thousands of laws and restrictions, and manufacturing and selling so many things which people don't really need. So all these things should be discussed regularly. Of course, there are some people who say that, who are against anyone having realization. They say, no, it's only what's in Prabhupada's books. Their realization is that no one should have any other realization. We'll only read Prabhupada's books, and no one else should write any books, and then this is their realization. No one should have any other realization. Of course, that wasn't Prabhupada's realization. If devotees were not explaining according to their realizations and writing books, then we would say, well, what is the value of Prabhupada's teachings? Prabhupada one time criticized the Sri Chaitanya Math. He said that they're only selling the books of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur so many years, and none of them wrote any books since. If Prabhupada, the sign of Prabhupada is imparting the knowledge of Shastra is that his disciples are inspired to write so many books according to their realization, imparting this or bringing aspects of this knowledge to others. If Prabhupada, the sign of Prabhupada is imparting the knowledge of Shastra is that his disciples are inspired to write so many books according to their realization, imparting this or bringing aspects of this knowledge to others. Krishna is unlimited, and there's no doubt about the most important books, they're Prabhupada's books, but the Srimad Bhagavatam itself has given rise to dozens of commentaries and thousands of books, and there's no reason why it should stop now. It's a sign of Prabhupada's success if he teaches and inspires disciples so that they continue the tradition of writing books which give further realizations and knowledge of what is in Shastra. So actual realization is wanted. That actual realization comes when one is very sincere to serve the Lord. If one is not sincere to serve, then his realization will be perverted, or there will be imagination. Perverted realization may be something like, well, Prabhupada said, well, if you can't come to Mangalarti, at least come to Guru Puja. So they may think that, well, then Prabhupada said it's okay for me not to go to Mangalarti. But a better realization would be that actually you should come to Mangalarti, but if you're missing that which is not good, then don't also miss the Guru Puja. Or we may twist different things. One devotee, I asked him, why are you getting up every day at 8 o'clock in the morning? He said, well, Prabhupada's father, Prabhupada said he used to rise late. So ignoring that, Prabhupada himself didn't rise late. Yeah. The known standard according to Shastra and the behavior of all sadhus is not to rise late. Yeah. And Prabhupada's specific order is to rise early. So he finds one exception, and he takes that and throws out everything else, and that's his realization. If one is sincere, one will not speak like this. Also, realization means we should stick closely to the topics of Shastra. Not that we tell big, long stories which have got, I remember hearing someone I heard a class when someone was telling, the story went on for about 10 minutes, and the conclusion is that one shouldn't hear from a fool. There's a long story which everyone except me thought was funny. I was just wondering whether this is to demonstrate the devotee's storytelling ability or to make a point that's actually useful to our spiritual advancement. He could have made the same point in 20 seconds. Once Prabhupada, he asked one of his disciples to speak in his presence to a room full of devotees, and he started telling some long story which has no connection to Shastra. After a few minutes, Prabhupada just shouted at him, "Stop! You speak according to Shastra." So speaking parrot-like means without any realization, just repeating what one has heard. This applies more to like smartas, mayavadis. They say but they don't understand. They'll just like so many, even of Prabhupada's godbrothers, they used to criticize him that why you allowed women to stay in the ashram, why you're performing marriage ceremonies. Our Guru Maharaj didn't do this, why are you doing it? So they don't understand the principle of preaching Krishna consciousness all over the world, therefore they're criticizing. So many, even of Prabhupada's godbrothers, they used to criticize him that why you allowed women to stay in the ashram, why you're performing marriage ceremonies. Our Guru Maharaj didn't do this, why are you doing it? So they don't understand the principle of preaching Krishna consciousness all over the world, therefore they're criticizing. Now that doesn't mean that therefore anyone can do anything in the name of preaching. If for instance you start, in the name of preaching, you start having people doing yoga exercises in front of the deities, this is against the principles of bhakti. So it requires clear understanding of the principles of bhakti. Then one should speak on Shastra. And everything one says, that will be according to the principles of bhakti. And others who hear, they will be inspired and they will also imbibe the spirit of Shuddha Bhakti, pure devotion service. And if one hears from persons for whom the ability to tell an interesting story is the most important, they put value on this, or there's so many different kinds of presentations which do not clearly present Shuddha Bhakti. Then if the presentation is not clear, then we won't get Shuddha Bhakti, that's all. So these are some realizations. If anyone has any questions, they may please ask.
Some preachers claim to have realization that we have to change way of preaching. And some preachers say that they have realization that we have to invite new ways of preaching. And apparently they're showing results also, that they're making progress through indirect preaching, like that yoga class.
Yeah, well, we have to... Yeah, say, you take the mic back. Yeah, well, we have to see what is the result. They say, even if they say we're making many devotees, well, bringing a number of heads, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're getting the real thing. The people they should imbibe the spirit of pure devotional service. I was just listening this morning to a quote from one of Prabhupada's letters where he said that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu spread Krishna consciousness with mridanga and kartal. So we shouldn't try to become greater than Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This is the process. Sankirtan movement. There is a theory that if we're not so strict, then more people will be invited they'll be inclined to join. Maybe less sincere people will come. If we have principles, even no tea, no coffee, I know when I first found out, I thought, well, these people are really serious. I don't know what it is, but whatever they may be teaching, that I didn't know at first, but immediately I could understand these people are very serious about what they're doing. And if we make it so liberal that there's no difference between this and anything else, then why should they come here? They can go anywhere else. If we say, well, do what you like, speak what you like, dress as you like, and just chant Hare Krishna. Well, then they may say, well, I'm already doing what I like, saying what I like, and dressing as I like, then why should I chant Hare Krishna? If it's such an easy, there's nothing to be followed, then what's the value of it anyway? And if they do say what they like, dress as they like, and do whatever they like, and chant Hare Krishna, that chanting won't actually have much effect anyway. That will be namaparad. So theoretically we can adopt any means to bring people to Krishna consciousness. But the result will be tested in very soon they come to the realization that anything but Krishna consciousness as given by the pure devotees, Guru, Sadhu and Shastra, that is completely bogus. Unless they come to that realization, then what are we preaching? We're preaching something, but it's not what the Acharyas have taught us. There's also the consideration that the process that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave us didn't become outdated or useless. If we're so busy doing other things, then we won't have... Where will be the time for chanting Hare Krishna and preaching Bhagavad-gita if we're preaching something else? Then you were going to say something?
In initial condition, for the beginning devotees, we say repeat. Even sometimes if you don't have realization, like especially in book distribution, you preach something, what you heard, just repeat.
Yeah.
So is it allowable for beginners?
Translate. It's not a good idea to send very new people on book distribution or any kind of preaching, except maybe to carry they can carry the bag for others. Something like this. Or in a festival, they can join in the Harinam or something like this. It's not a good idea to send very new people on book distribution or any kind of preaching, except maybe to carry they can carry the bag for others. Something like this. Or in a festival, they can join in the Harinam or something like this. They should have at least some basic understanding. Otherwise, they'll misrepresent. If by their misrepresentation they're able to distribute some books, then they'll become puffed up also. So devotees should go for book distribution, but just when they're very new, they should not go except in their capacity as an assistant. Then? Alright, so we'll finish there.